So I've done games, done music. So now we're going to do dinosaurs. And so for this week's installment of Liam Speaks, we're going to be talking about dinosaurs. So if you've known me for any amount of time, you will know I like the dinosaur. Dinosaurs, plural, I like them all, any part of them. So I'm going to kind of go through some dinosaurs that I think, that I'm personally a fan of. I'll talk a little bit about them. This is by no means like a deep dive into all of dinosaurs, because that is so long. In fact, Lindsay Nicole makes a really good video about the Mesozoic era, which is way more detailed than what I'm going to be today.
That we know of.
So yeah, if you want to check out some more detailed stuff, I'll leave a link in the description. But anyway, I'm going to essentially go by time period. We're going to be going through the whole Mesozoic era. For those that don't know the Mesozoic era, that's the part of the time with the dinosaurs. There's a bunch of other times, and I don't care about them. Like, for real, as soon as the age of mammals started, like mammoths are cool, saber-tooths are cool, I don't care. I care a little bit about the, Cambrian and everything before that, so. And again, I'm not a scientist, so make sure to do your research. I've got some quick notes about every single one I'm going to talk about. But yeah, we're just going to kind of keep this train rolling. So without ado, I got the title for this one. Dinosaurs are badass. Yeah, that's the title today. Fuck you. Okay, we're going to kick it off in the Triassic period. So around the Triassic, this starts what's known as the Mesozoic era. And what the Mesozoic era is that's where the dinosaurs are. That's all you need to know. But we split the Mesozoic into three parts. So we have the Triassic, the Jurassic, and the Cretaceous. I'm going to go in order. We're going to start with the Triassic. So a very quick rundown on the world at this time. Without getting too in detail, the world went to shit. And when I say where the world went to shit, I mean people call it the Great Dying. It's like the biggest extinction event of all time. Like most of the life on the planet it got wiped out.
Rest in peace, my granny, she got hit by a bazooka. Yeah, I think about it every time I hit the hookah.
But essentially, the world was not a cool place to live in anyway. It was low-key kind of a desert. And then all of a sudden, just someone blessed the rains down in Africa. But Africa at the time was Pangea, so Toto, right, that one. And it started raining crazy. The place was flooding. Everything was gone. Wiped out, bro. So obviously some stuff stayed around, and that kind of leads us to where we're going to start now. So the first dinosaur I have on this list is Herrerasaurus. Now, Herrerasaurus is kind of a weird one. And this is kind of where we'll quickly discuss what is a dinosaur. For example, there's not going to be any mosasaurs or pterosaurs or any kind of things like that. We rope them around with dinosaurs, but they're not technically.
Actually.
Like this thing. That's a dinosaur, right? No. That's a synapsid. It's more like us than it is like a dinosaur. It's crazy. It gets deep. So with Herrerasaurus, people think it's like this weird fusion of lizard and bird dinosaur. And so look at it. That's a dinosaur. That's the cool thing about paleontology, man, is it's a guessing game. At the end of the day, we dig up a fuck ton of bones. We have no idea what these bones are. We thought they were dragons originally. And now we're taking a guessing game on what they turned into. So at the end of the day, we're going to dig up, we're going to find this breaking new discovery. And it's going to be obsolete in a month. It's a guessing game, but an educated one. But yeah, Herrerasaurus, he's kind of he looked a lot like what we saw later on is theropod dinosaurs, which I'm going to segue to another one. This one just kind of looked cool. This is Lilian Sternus. I'm going to butcher some of these names, bro. But that's kind of the first, it's a pseudo theropod. Theropod, think T-Rex, that's a theropod. But it's one of the real early renditions of it. But he's just a little guy. How big was this guy? Wow. Never mind, he was not a little guy. He was 16 meters long. Yeah, well, he's a little guy, bro. He's a little guy. All right, and then I've got one more for the Triassic. The Triassic, in my opinion, is such a weird time. There was so much life that wasn't dinosaurs that was really cool. It was a weird soup. So I'm only going to really do 3 for the Triassic, but there is so much more cool stuff in the Triassic. But the last one I want to mention is Plateosaurus. He looks kind of derpy, I know, right? Because he kind of was. There's these things called sauropods. If you don't know, we're about to talk about a lot of them in the next time period. But you think like the long neck, the do-do-do-do-do-do-do, that's a sauropod. This is like where they came from. I'm going to call him Fred. Fred, he would walk around and he had this long neck. Like, he really wanted to be one of those long neck dinosaurs. But, like, man had legs. And he was like, bro, I'm going to use these legs. You know, I got them. Might as well. And so, Plateosaurus is like the kind of the start, the pro-sauropod. So, yeah, those 3 are kind of some cool ones I found from the Triassic. Like I said, the Triassic has a lot of weird stuff. So you should like really deep dive the Triassic. It's really cool. All right, so now moving forward in time a little bit, we're gonna move to the Jurassic. So in the Jurassic, at the end of the Triassic, you know, Pangea was dope. It was really enjoying its thing. It decided to split. It went its own separate way, and because of that, a certain kind of plant that was really popping off at the time got really tall, And you know, especially my boys, the Plateosauruses, they were like, that food is bomb. So high up, I'm gonna grow. And then so the Jurassic is really where the sauropods like that, they're like sup. There were some in the Cretaceous, but like the Jurassic, that's where they were thriving. First off, we're gonna talk about Apatosaurus. So Apatosaurus is not my favorite sauropod. However, I feel like it is the default one. Like when you think of it, there's a couple arguments. I would argue it's either Brachiosaurus or Apatosaurus. 2 different species, but I feel like those kind of fight over what the main guy is. In my opinion, it's Apatosaurus. Plus, it's adorable. They always like reconstruct Apatosaurus as just like a cute friend that you just want to be a homie with. Anytime I've seen an Apatosaurus in a movie, a game, any kind of adaptation, I want to be its friend. So anyway, my boys, the Apatosauruses, all the sauropods, were thriving. The carnivores are like, these are so big MFs, and I can't really take that down. So theropods kind of went a different route. They were like, there's no way we're going to kill one of these things. They're massive. What if we just tortured them their whole life and just like ripped pieces of their flesh off and just kept eating it, feeling this endless cycle of just slashing their kneecaps and taking it for food? So that's where our next one comes, and we're going to talk about Allosaurus. Now, I have a kind of cool personal story about Allosaurus. So the hometown I grew up in, there was a museum, and I would go, and there was a giant Allosaurus skeleton. There was one room in the whole thing that was dinosaurs, and I would spend hours in there. And there was this giant Allosaurus in the middle. As a little kid, you're like, that's a T-Rex. Oh my God, that's a T-Rex. Not me. No. See, young Liam was well-versed. Young Liam was educated. Young Liam was an educated dinosaur nerd. NANI? So anytime my friends would come and say, bro, did you see the T-Rex? I was like, that's an Allosaurus. You will address him as such. So, yeah, Allosaurus is cool. He was a pack-hunting carnivore. They would find a group of sauropods, and they would essentially bleed it dry. They have razor teeth, so they would just take a chunk of flesh, and then that'd be it. Or, you know, if it was a big enough pack of them, they would just hunt that thing, bleed it dry until it just gave up. Carnivores at this time were ruthless, bro. Okay, now speaking of theropods and speaking of sauropods, back to dinosaur reconstruction. It's sometimes funny as hell. Introducing my boy, Saurophaganax. Now, his name is crazy. That is his actual name. The funny thing about Saurophaganax is when they discovered it, they were like, oh, dude, this is like some big badass Allosaurus. This thing's huge. Like, breaking records huge. It's this gigantic meat-eating dinosaur. They called it Lord of the Lizard Eaters. Like, that's what the name means. And all this like discovery, they release it, and everyone's like, bro, this thing's cool. It's my new favorite dinosaur. Yeah, they kind of went through and found out that's not what it looked like. It actually looks like this.
Hell no, man. What the fuck, man?
Safe to say people were a little disappointed. So Saurophaganax, like, it'll always be known as the dinosaur that was this big, scary theropod, but that just ended up being a little guy. Still a really cool animal. Obviously, new stuff is being discovered each day, so it may have switched back by the time you watch this video. Who knows? All right, speaking of funny, sometimes we have different things that go together in an unlikely way. So during the Jurassic, obviously the sauropods are popping off. Like everything we've talked about so far has been about sauropods or wanting to eat sauropods. They are like they are that guy. There was another species that was also thriving around this time. This was the stegosaurids. Let me introduce you to my friend Miragaia. Now this thing looks weird. So here's the thing about Miragaia. It was a stegosaurid, so it was homies with Stegosaurus, but it really like was jealous of the sauropods getting all the food up high. So it has this like long semi-sauropod like neck, and it's still got the spikes like a stegosaurid. Yeah, Miragaia is cool, purely just aesthetically cool. I love how that dinosaur looks. Plus, I just think it's hilarious that like sauropods were so prominent in one time period that everything just got jealous and wanted to be like it. Plesiosaur, you came up, bro. You had a dream and you saw it through.
Yeah, baby. Yeah.
Okay, so we got one more on the Jurassic. I feel like I needed to talk about this one purely because of the hype of Jurassic Park. So here's the deal about Jurassic Park. Most of everything in that movie is not from the Jurassic period. I could make a whole nother video about like the things that Jurassic Park did wrong. And there's some things that are wrong but weren't wrong at the time. But I feel like this dinosaur is so different than what it actually was. So if you don't know, Jurassic Park was a book by Michael Crichton. This next dinosaur we're going to talk about, I feel like the scene is so much better in the book. It's described, the dinosaur itself is so much better in the book. And the movie just said, fuck that. We're doing this. It's completely different. I'm of course talking about the Dilophosaurus. So, the Dilophosaurus. It terrified me as a kid. Anytime that scene would pop up, I couldn't watch the movie. And I was a dinosaur-obsessed kid. I was like, I'm so brave. This is so scary. The book, so much scarier. The Dilophosaurus in the book is more like the actual dinosaur, and it's even scarier. The Dilophosaurus lived in the Jurassic period. Let's get the obvious out of the way. Did not have these frills. The frills look cool. I think they were trying to do a thing off of the frilled lizard. It's a cool design. I love how it looks. It's not accurate though. Dilophosaurus was actually way bigger. I don't know the exact proportions, but like Dilophosaurus in the movies like about this tall. Dilophosaurus in real life was like, he's a big boy. Yeah, in the book, rather than the guy getting like, spit on and attacked in the car, he's like out in the car and then he just feels like pain in the side of his head. That's because the Dilophosaurus just like is above him and bites his head. And like the imagery in the book is crazy. And the last thing, it didn't spit venom, at least that we know of. So it really was just like a large carnivore for the time. It's a really cool dinosaur. Jurassic Park just wanted nothing to do with it for some reason. There's a lot of things that are wrong with Jurassic Park that they kind of made creative liberties, but that I feel like is the most prominently wrong one. Okay, so we're going to move on to the last time period of this story. We're going to talk about the Cretaceous period. So, the Cretaceous period, this is where the dinosaurs are. There were dinosaurs in the Jurassic, there was dinosaurs in the Triassic, but the Cretaceous, this is where they pop off. Most dinosaurs that are in the Cretaceous, like the majority of them. So what actually separates the Jurassic and the Cretaceous? Like there is an extinction event. It's nothing like the one that started the Jurassic. Pangea kept splitting. That was still a thing. It was getting warmer. Like, I'm gonna be honest with you, life just kind of happened. And so you'll see a trend that a lot of these dinosaurs that everyone knows, like the explosion of them, happens towards the end of it. At the beginning, it's a lot like the Jurassic. It's just like, shit just changes, and then eventually we're just like, yeah, we'll flip it over. So I'm gonna start my favorite dinosaur of all time. Ladies and gentlemen, give me a drum roll, please. My favorite dinosaur of all time is Eutyrannus. Now, Eutyrannus is awesome. It's the greatest dinosaur ever, and here is why. Everyone loves T-Rex. T-Rex is cool. The Tyrannosaurus Rex is like the most popular animal of all time. Like everyone thinks T-Rex is cool because it is, and it's really cool. I can't talk shit about a dinosaur. I just feel like he's so popular that it gets a little overwhelming. I feel like he needs to share the spotlight. Which I gotta say, now in dinosaur media, like general knowledge of dinosaurs is exploded. But yes, Eutyrannus is my favorite dinosaur. Essentially, Eutyrannus is T-Rex's great-grandpa. He's like this old, cranky, feathered dinosaur that lived in the cold. Picturing like old man Logan on a rocking chair, just fucking hate everybody. So, Eutyrannus is pretty popular because it's the largest known dinosaur that we've found evidence of feathers. The fluffy T-Rex theory, it goes back and forth. In my opinion, I don't think that most dinosaurs were like fully feathered. I think some of them definitely had some scalage or some kind of type of scale, and like maybe had some feathers accenting. But Tyrannus, that's a furry boy. That's a furry lad, and he's cool. I don't know, just aesthetically he looks cool. I was a big fan of Ark Survival Evolved, and the Tyrannus, low-key kind of derpy. He's just this fluffy T-Rex that just like stumbles around and yells at you. No, the Eutyrannus is my favorite dinosaur of all time. My wife took me to like a traveling exhibit at a museum for my birthday one time, and there's this tiny little section that has Eutyrannus, and they mentioned Eutyrannus, and that was my favorite part. It's like, yes, my boy. Yeah, I will always be the Eutyrannus enthusiast. While I'm on the topic of theropods, there's one more theropod that I have like a personal attachment to. And I'm about to go with Acrocanthosaurus. So Acrocanthosaurus, he's like this like meaty looking T-Rex dude. Like he's if the T-Rex was shaped like a brick. And he was this massive apex predator, and he was really cool. There's a lot of cool facts about him. However, the reason why he's more of like a personal favorite, so when I was a kid and even when I was an adult, I used to go to Dinosaur Valley State Park. Now, if you don't know about Dinosaur Valley State Park, it's a state park out in Glen Rose, Texas, and essentially it's got dinosaur tracks everywhere. So there's two types of tracks that you can find there, like perfectly fossilized. One is the Acrocanthosaurus. The other is the Paluxiosaurus. It's another sauropod, but it was named after the Paluxy River. I don't exactly remember its name. And I don't know. I think the Acro is cool. And as a kid, like, I knew they weren't T-Rex footprints or anything like that. So I would research Acrocanthosaur. And just, like, the fact that you could see its footprints and stand next to it. And you're just like, yeah. I've got a picture of my dog standing next to one of them. So, yeah, Acrocanthosaur. Pretty cool dinosaur. And the Cretaceous period is really just going to be my favorite dinosaur of each subcategory. So, kind of going back to sauropods, my favorite sauropod of all time is Amargasaurus. Now, Amargasaurus, it is essentially just a punk rock Apatosaurus. Yeah, it had these like spikes on the back of its neck. It looks badass. It's still debated if it was like a defense thing or if it was for display. You know, I think it looks cool. It's just a little bit different than just a regular sauropod. So my favorite sauropod is Amargasaurus. Okay, so this is a new dinosaur to the list, not just because I found it recently, but it got discovered recently. So for the longest time, my favorite dinosaur before I discovered Eutyrannus was Spinosaurus. Here's the deal about Spinosaurus. Spinosaurus is the most debated dinosaur of all time. Its history is nuts, and it's hilarious to kind of see it over time. So I'm just going to do a very quick run through of Spinosaurus' history. So essentially, there was this guy, and he was in Egypt, and he found bones. He was like, bro, these bones are pretty cool. And so he took them back to his lab in Europe. This is where he kind of was like, this is a T-Rex, but it's got a fucking spine. This is cool as shit. Didn't really find a whole lot of the bones, like pretty incomplete skeleton, but he essentially just reconstructed what we knew at the time was a T-Rex and gave it a spine. And dude, paleo art over the years, like the 80s, 70s paleo art at the time was very accurate, but like nowadays there's a lot of stuff wrong with it, but I love aesthetically that style. But anyway, so he finds these bones, he puts them back in his lab, and World War II happens. Yeah, war doesn't give a fuck about progress, so they bomb the shit out of that museum. This motherfucker got bones, we gotta blow this shit up. So yeah, the museum just gets completely destroyed. And so all we know about Spinosaurus, oh god, all the stuff we have is just kind of the stuff that was able to be saved, not the material, but like the notes and stuff like that. So like years go on and no one knows anything about Spinosaurus. We find teeth, we eventually kind of find out, oh, this thing kind of low-key like the water. Water? Yeah, at the time it was like, this is the biggest thing. This could kill the T-Rex. It's badass. But then over time, we kind of find more that has more of a crocodilian-like snout. And the more bones we find, This thing liked the water. This thing liked fish. And so over time, it becomes more aquatic based. This is the current reconstruction, at least from what I could find while editing this. I feel like this shirt that my dad got me does a pretty good rendition of what the modern skeletal structure is. There's this ongoing meme that the Spinosaurus gets nerfed.
Why do they keep nerfing the Spinosaurus? What did he do?
It's so funny. Spinosaurus is the most debated dinosaur of all time. So the reason why I bring it up, Spinosaurus aegypticus is not my favorite Spinosaurid. Yeah, no, Spinosaurid or Spinosauridae? Spinosaurid. That's the proper way to say it. Now, there's a lot of Spinosaurids, Baryonyx, Suchomimus, all of those, Irritator. They're really cool. However, they're not my favorite. There's one that got discovered like a month ago. Maybe 2 months at this time. Spinosaurus mirabilis. So, essentially, it's Spinosaurus aegypticus, but it has a unicorn horn. Oh, yeah, baby. Spinosaurus mirabilis. There's not been a whole lot found. This is very breaking science, so this may be outdated in a year. Who knows? But essentially, it's Spinosaurus with a unicorn horn, and I think that is awesome. It looks so cool. Like, just a little bit of time we've had with it, like, the art is so cool. I love it. Yeah, Spinosaurus mirabilis. Cool story. Spinosaurus as a whole is just a cool story, but the fact that now we have one with a unicorn horn is hilarious. All right, moving on with my favorites. Triceratops. So ceratopsians, it's the overall family of them. We have Triceratops, Diabloceratops, Lokiceratops. There's a bunch of them. My favorite is a Styracosaurus. So Styracosaurus is a ceratopsid. I have a couple reasons why I'm a big fan of Styracosaurus. One is just aesthetically it looks cool. I just like how the horns protrude out on it. I think they look really cool. Kind of I think the real reason is when I was a kid and I used to play Zoo Tycoon 2, throwback. That video I talk a little bit more about it, but no, Styracosaurus was one of the dinosaurs in the DLC it came with, and I love art wise it looks so cool. I love the Styracosaurus. I think ceratopsids are cool. There's so many of them, like you'll find an obscure one, but Styracosaurus, that's my goat. All right, moving on to my favorite, Hadrosaur. So Hadrosaur, Parasaurolophus, Montosaurus, those are kind of like the leading roles on that one. I really, honestly, it may be Parasaurolophus. I love Parasaurolophus. Growing up watching Land Before Time, like Ducky was really cool. I don't know, the crest looks really cool. It may just be Parasaurolophus, but it's also really funny to watch people try and pronounce Parasaurolophus. We're going to play a game. I'm going to throw a name up here, and I'm going to give you 10 seconds to pronounce it. The pronunciation is Futalongosaurus. My point exactly. These names are weird, and they're hard to pronounce. Yeah, but my actual favorite Hadrosaur is Lambeosaurus. This is kind of a new development. I don't know. I've been playing Path of Titans, and it's the only dinosaur in that game that is like a support. It heals you. And I think that's cool. That's obviously not how the dinosaur lived. It's just a dinosaur in real life. I don't know. It just aesthetically looks cool. This is kind of a new favorite added to the list, but it may also be Parasaurolophus. It could be one of the two. All right, moving on to the last two. This next one has a funny story. So, a long time ago, this guy found some fossils, as you do. At the time, he was like, bro, I found these turtle flippers. These are crazy. If you don't know, if you look at like the skeleton of some turtles, like they look like they have ginormous fucking claws, but that's just their flippers. It's another thing. There's videos out there, drawings of people like recreating modern animals, but in a weird way, just because of their skeletal structure. But yeah, so on further investigation of these fossils this guy found, he found a giant herbivore with giant claws. So you went from being a turtle to this guy. This is Therizinosaurus. I like to call him Tickle Chicken. If you know, you know. Therizinosaurus recently has gotten a lot of love through Jurassic World Dominion and Ark Survival Evolved. So the theory is starting to get some love. But yeah, no, he was this giant herbivore with just giant claws and big up Tickle Chicken. Okay, and then the last thing I'm going to talk about this list is my favorite raptor-ish. I'm doing a mega raptor. So raptors, like where Velociraptor, Deinonychus, all those guys come into play. There's another subsection of them called mega raptors. There's them, but beefy.
him, boy! He's sick, boy!
And so my favorite of that variety is Maip. Maip it's cool. It's just this giant, like, terrifying raptor with these giant claws. Like, if a Maip was in front of you, it's one of those where I just would sit. I'm just like, it's game over. What am I gonna do? The thing is massive. Kind of some bonus points. We don't know what it really sounded like, but in Path of Titans, the Meop that you can play has this terrifying, like, Aztec-y and death whistle scream in it. There's like analog horror of Maip out there. It is just terrifying, and I love it. That's so cool. Yeah, Maip's badass. And then big asteroid comes out of the sky and wipes them all out. I would sign a petition for Jurassic Park to be a thing. Bring them back. We're treating this planet like shit. They would just mind their business. But yeah, then the asteroid hits, and then, you know, we take over. Stupid mammals. And then I start to lose interest. I like dinosaurs so much. They're so cool. There's so many cool things about them. But the Age of the Mammals, the one we're currently in right now, is a cool story as well. There's many people that deep dive it a lot more. But yeah, I just kind of wanted to talk about dinosaurs today. Hopefully you learned something new about dinosaurs, or if you didn't, at least hopefully I was funny along the way. Feel free to kind of do some research on all these other dinosaurs. There's so many cool ones. Like, we need to popularize, like, your favorite dinosaur being something other than T-Rex, which I feel like in dinosaur media today is the case. I feel like there's a lot of people with unique favorite dinosaurs, and I think that's awesome. So yeah, I think I'm gonna wrap up here. You know what to do. Like, subscribe, all that stuff. New video every Friday. I've been going strong since. This is the third one. I don't know at what point it becomes a habit, so we'll see. Leave some comments. Let me know what your favorite dinosaur is below. I'd love to hear. Love to have some comments and engagement with you guys. And yeah, we'll definitely be talking about more dinosaurs in the future. Go RAR XD or some shit.